On January 20th, 2021, the United States of America will be inaugurating perhaps a new president, Joe Biden, or perhaps Donald Trump. Who knows? The election is still a little bit up in the air. It hasn't been certified yet. I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say it's most likely going to be Joe Biden. However, the future of that person's presidency, whether it be Joe Biden and Donald Trump, will not be determined on January 20th, nor was it determined on November 4th by the presidential election. No, I'm going to argue, and I believe that this is true, that it will actually be determined on January 4th. Why that date? Because January 5th. That is the date of the Georgia runoff election for the United States Senate. And let me explain to you why I believe that election is so important and could determine the future of whoever the next president is. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer. If you like my content, please like, subscribe, comment, and share. I know I'm talking about politics today. I'm just talking about what's on my mind. On this channel, I cover legal news, legal topics, politics. I'll tell you what, you guys let me know what you want me to talk about. Do you like my videos talking about politics, or do you want me to just stick to the law? It's a bit of experimentation here, see what everybody likes on this channel. So let me know in the comments. Okay, so January 20th, we're going to get a new president. However, I believe the fate of that presidency will be largely tied to what happens January 5th. On January 5th, voters in Georgia will be voting in a runoff election to pick actually both of their senators. In a weird twist of fate, both of Georgia's Senate seats are up at the same time this year. That doesn't happen in most states. In the other 49, well, I don't know. I'm sure there's some other ones may have runoffs, okay? I'm not sure. But most other states, they don't have runoffs, and the Senate elections are staggered so that you don't have both senators up for election at the same time. And senators serve 6-year terms. I believe in Georgia, what happened was a prior senator either resigned or retired or something along those lines, so that the timing of the elections lined up so that they were on the same date. So both Georgia senators are going to be determined on January 5th in a runoff. What is a runoff election? Well, this is a little weird because in most states, whoever gets the most votes in the senatorial election wins. Well, in a fact that you may not have known, the states can actually change the rules of their elections for Senate, for Congress, even how they give out electoral votes in the Electoral College for president. The states can change their own rules as long as it's within the limits of the United States Constitution. So for instance, Maine, they actually split up their electoral votes. I believe they have 3 electoral votes for president, and 2 of them can go Democrat, 1 can go Republican, or vice versa. Whereas the vast majority of states is a winner-take-all situation where whichever candidate gets the most votes and then the most electors, okay, they get all of the electoral votes for that presidency, okay? And those rules for how the electoral votes are determined are made up by the state legislatures and the state governments. So what Georgia did, I don't know why or when, they decided that in their senatorial elections, a candidate has to not only get the most votes, but the majority of the votes. They have to get over 50% of the votes. If they don't get 50% of the majority, 50% or over, then they do not win the election and it goes to a runoff. The top 2 candidates will then compete in the runoff. And here's the thing, when you have just 2 candidates, someone's always going to get a majority of the votes. When do people not get majority of the votes? You guessed it, when there are 3 or more candidates. Because what could happen, and what happened here in this Georgia vote, is even if a candidate, a third-party candidate could spoil with just 1%, 2%, or 3% of the vote. So let's look at one of the races in Georgia, which was David Perdue versus John Ossoff. Perdue's Republican, Ossoff's the Democrat. Perdue got 49.7% of the vote. Ossoff got 48%, and it went to a runoff because nobody had the majority. Nobody had over 50. We're literally talking under 2% split this race and caused it to go to a runoff. The margins were a bit different in the other Senate race where Raphael Warnock, who is the Democrat, ran against Kelly Loeffler. Warnock had, some, I think, in the 30%, Loeffler had in the 20%, and then there were a couple other candidates who actually ate up much more than like 2% of the vote. So what happens in Georgia is the two top vote getters who did not get the majority, right? No majority, so can't be decided in the first vote. The two top vote getters go to a runoff, which will be held on January 5th. And in this case, it is in both Senate races in Georgia, okay? Those candidates I talked about are going to be running against each other. And this time it's a binary race, just one versus one. So one of them has to get over 50%. Personally, I think this rule is a little ridiculous only because it drags things out. And in an election year like this, crazy election year, okay, we're not going to know who has control of the Senate until at least January 5th, perhaps after, when what happened in the presidential will happen here. There's going to be mail-in votes counted, da-da-da-da-da. Okay, so where does that leave the current state of the Senate? Why is this important to the presidency? Well, as things stand, there are like one or two races that are still up in the air. However, as things stand, and the way those races are predicted to go, the Republicans have 50 senators and the Democrats have 48. Republicans have 50, Democrats have 48. There are 100 senators, and in order for pretty much anything to get done in the Senate, one party has to have a majority, okay? They have to form a caucus. They have to form a majority that can then pass legislation, force things upon the president, override the House of Representatives, etc. But at 50 Republicans, 48 Democrats, we don't know what's going to happen. Those two Georgia Senate seats are now key to the control of the Senate. All right. Now, Democrats have to win both races in order to get control of the Senate because it's 50-48. If Democrats win both, it'll be 50-50. And perhaps you knew this, perhaps you didn't. It's happened before in United States politics. The vice president breaks the tie. So if we assume Joe Biden's going to be the president and Kamala Harris is the vice president, Kamala Harris will in effect become the 51st senator. I know it's a little weird. Now, she's not going to be down there probably, sitting in the chamber as a senator, but she will reside over the chamber and she will be the tie-breaking vote that would give Democrats control of the Senate if they win the final two seats in Georgia. Republicans only need one. They're at 50. Republicans only need one. If they get to 51, Democrats have 49. Republicans retain control of the Senate. Why is this so important? Why is this so important to the presidency? Well, most presidents, and we're going to talk about Joe Biden here primarily, most presidents, especially first-term presidents, when they come in, they are generally going to get at least control of one house, but oftentimes control of both houses. This has been the trend in recent politics. For example, when Donald Trump won the presidency, he also won control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. When Barack Obama won the presidency, he won control of the Senate and the House of Representatives. And I also believe George W. Bush won the presidency. He also came in with control of the House and the Senate. This is what we call coattails. Usually the president, the top of the ticket, that person's party will win the majority of House and Senate seats as well in a presidential election. So Barack Obama brought the House and the Senate, though Democrats, I believe, already had control of the House at the time, but he brought the Senate in on his coattails. Donald Trump brought the House and the Senate in on his coattails as well. Republicans already had the House. But Joe Biden appears to have possibly failed to do that. He may take control of the presidency, and the Democrats will retain the House of Representatives, even though they didn't do very good in those elections. But Republicans may retain control of the Senate. And if they do, Joe Biden, upon inauguration will be, in a way, a lame duck president. What do I mean by lame duck? Well, I mean they're not able to get much done because of the facts and circumstances around them. Usually a second-term president is considered a lame duck, or a president in their final 2 years, because they may have lost in the midterm. But Joe Biden may come into office, Democratic president, Democratic House of Representatives, but a Republican Senate. If there is a Republican Senate, they can stop any meaningful legislation that Joe Biden wants to do. And what do presidents need in order to get reelected, in order to have something to run on? Achievements, legislation, right? When Barack Obama got in, his first 2 years, he passed Obamacare and a bunch of other legislation that affected financial markets, credit, etc., etc. For 2 years, he had the House and the Senate, and he was able to push through a lot of legislation. Also, Donald Trump came in. His first 2 years, he was able to pass tax cuts and a bunch of other legislation because he controlled the House and the Senate. All right, George W. Bush, when he came in, he passed the No Child Left Behind Act. Most presidents want to have a signature piece of legislation. If Joe Biden comes in with a Republican Senate, he may not get that signature piece of legislation. There are certain things the Republicans will work with him on. I imagine we'll get another stimulus bill for the coronavirus. Okay, some things fall into a bipartisan camp, even in today's highly polarized climate. However, as far as Joe Biden doing something major on, let's say, healthcare, let's say immigration, on areas where Republicans and Democrats disagree, it will be extremely difficult for him to do so with a Republican Senate, especially considering that the country is so divided right now. The Republican voters probably aren't going to want their senators to cooperate with Joe Biden, and they're very responsive to public opinion. So a Republican House, even with a Republican Senate, even with a Democratic House, could throw a wrench into most of Joe Biden's plans. What will we see out of Joe Biden then? Well, we'll see executive orders. The president can still do that, and they can affect policy in a big way like that. President still have a lot of power in foreign policy, so he's still going to be able to do a lot of things that he wants to do in foreign policy, and there may be a few areas of bipartisanship. But like I said, the coronavirus bill, but on any major piece of legislation may be denied Joe Biden, okay? And this could hurt his chances of re-election in 4 years, and it could also increase the likelihood that Republicans make additional gains at the midterms in 2 years. So if Joe Biden wants to get anything done during his 4 years, Democrats are going to have to win both of those runoff elections in Georgia. If Republicans only win one of them, I'm sure they want to win two. If they only win one, they will retain the power to throw a wrench in Joe Biden's plans. Now, let's say, I don't believe this is going to happen. It just doesn't look possible right now, but it's still up in the air. Let's say Donald Trump somehow wins the presidency. He could, if he won the presidency, he could come in and have a Republican Senate and a Democratic House, which is how things have been for the past 2 years. So it wouldn't change much. He would be sort of a lame duck, which is very common for second-term presidencies, but not as common for a first-term presidency. That's why I think this is such a big deal. Joe Biden did not produce much in the terms of in the ways of coattails for helping his party take the Senate and take the House. And if they win these runoff elections, it could change the whole character of the Joe Biden presidency. And this is just a reminder, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, friends and family, the Senate and the House are a really big deal, especially the Senate, because there's only two per state. Really big deal. So if you want to affect politics in a big way, you really want your vote to have a large impact. And I think voting counts. I always vote. But I vote in every midterm and I vote in every presidential election. I don't hit all the small elections. But if you really want your vote to count in a big way, vote for Senate. Vote for the Senate seats. Extremely important, okay? Remember, the Constitution actually made Congress a stronger body than the presidency. The Congress, the reason Congress is not as strong in practice, they're stronger in paper, but not as strong in practice, is because they're rarely unified and it's hard for them to be unified, whereas the president is a single person who can make decisions, whereas Congress is much harder for them to make decisions. But when they're unified, it's extremely powerful, probably, and this is how it was meant to be, the most powerful branch of government. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, let me know what you want me to talk about. If you like my political videos, I'll make more of them. If you want me to talk about law or news or other things, let me know. I'm experimenting here. Thank you for tuning in. Joe Pometto, Joe the Lawyer. Thank you.